Good afternoon, welcome back to today. CSA's Transformation Ombud has found that the appointments of Mark Boucher and Graeme Smith were procedurally flawed. This is contained in the Transformation Ombud statement as it finally submitted its Social Justice and Nation Building Project report. The 235-page report has also raised questions about exclusionary practices when it comes to the selection of black players and the need to do more to address this. I'm joined by senior reporter Hloni Mtsimkulu, who has been following these SJN hearings all along. A very good afternoon, Hloni. Wow. I'm so happy that we finally have the report that's going to be made public today. You know, the procedure should have been 4 months. It went to 6 months. But the first question I want to ask is, what determines the procedure in the appointment of Graeme Smith and, of course, Mark Boucher?
Yeah, Arthur, so I think those were probably two of the most significant findings to come out of the Social Justice and Nation Building Project that was conducted by the Office of the Transformation Ombud. We know that during the hearings we did hear about Graeme Smith's appointment as the Director of Cricket and how procedures were or were not followed around that. And then because he was the Director of Cricket at the time, he then appointed Mark Boucher as Proteas coach when there was Enoch Ngwe already there. Now, this report finds that both their appointments were irregular because they looked at CSA's HR policy and how they hire, and that appears to not have been followed in the hiring of both Mark Boucher and Graeme Smith. It says that Graeme Smith seems to have been headhunted, and the HR policy does not make room for that. In the hiring process, Graeme Smith did not have to submit a written presentation, only an oral presentation. And even in that oral presentation, he was assisted by the former CEO, Thabang Morwe, and one of the HR executives. So basically, he had an advantage over the other three contenders that were going to be, or who had applied for this Director of Cricket position. So that was irregular. And of course, he then had leeway to appoint whoever he wanted to. And in the appointment of Mark Boucher, whom he wanted, and there was this thing that he wasn't going to work with anyone else but Mark Boucher and not Enoch Ngwe, that Mark Boucher was appointed. And again, there is no, they seem to not find a process that was followed in the appointment of Mark Boucher. And of course, that then prejudiced Enoch Ngwe, who was the interim coach at the time. I
mean, Hloni, both of them definitely are implicated in this report. I mean, very soon we're going to have the tour of South Africa, India coming down, of course, on South African shores. Will the findings in the report in one way or another interfere with this series?
Well, so I don't know if it will or it won't. I think the thing we need to remember is that they were hired anyway. So I think it then becomes a CSA matter. And what CSA does with this report, the chairperson of CSA, Lawson Naidu, has accepted it, and they're going to go through it. And then they will make the decision on what happens. You know, of course, they find that their hiring was procedurally flawed, but they were hired. And it's not, I suppose you could say that it's not their fault that they were hired. It's a CSA issue. So it depends what CSA does, what they can do, but it's 235 pages. We are still going through it, so we will get to see what recommendations possibly have been put out and what other findings they say and what they say about this.
Hloni, one more question before we are out of this place. The big question on the CSA CEO, what's been said about that?
There is no mention of the CSA CEO. We know that Polisi Musek is currently the acting CEO, but I imagine because Thabang Morwe was testifying at the hearings and he made a number of allegations about how he was treated, and because he was a black CEO, he was treated unfairly by the CSA board at the time. So I haven't gotten to that part yet, Arthur. So we are still reading that, and we will get to what they make of Thabang Morwe's whatever he said in his testimony. But yes, the big thing that seems to have come out of this is that the appointments of Graeme Smith, Mark Boucher were procedurally flawed, that Enoch Ngwe in the process was prejudiced, and what CSA will do with that.
Fantastic. That's our senior reporter, Hloni Mtsimkulu, reflecting on the release of the SJN reports to Cricket South Africa. Interesting findings, I tell you. We'll definitely bring you more updates on that one. You're watching today on ENCA, DSTV channel 403. Stay with us.